And we're live. We got fishing frustrations. We got laughing cats. We got the bullet experience. Ernie Brown.
There we go. Now I can see chat. Got to remember how to do this. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I forget how to do it from time to time.
I'm rusty.
Remember how to do this. It's been a while.
Or you do something and you don't know how you done it, and you're like, "Man, how did I do that?"
Exactly.
That's like on my old TV that I had in here, the 65-inch I had in my living room. Somehow I figured out how to activate chat on the TV to where I could see chat on TV while I was watching it. Well, now I bought this new 82-inch big screen, and I have not figured out. I can't figure out how I activated chat on the other one to get it to activate on this one. So
that sounds about right.
I have to have my phone or my laptop to chat, but I can watch it on the big screen.
Yeah.
We got Sogo, Mike Sampson, 3+1 outdoors, Ernie Brown, 2 stands fishing. You'll be my good broadcast brother. You're a natural.
My boy Stan, much love, brother. Much love.
Hey,
Go
ahead.
Stan does so much. When I was starting to get my show going, I did not know anything. And Stan contacted me, and me and him got to talking, and he helped walk me through getting things set up. And not only that, he was actually on there during my first show to kind of walk me through to make sure if I had problems or something, he would show me how to work it out. And Stan is awesome.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people are going to help somebody else out that does the same thing they do, because they're all worried. They're all worried about viewers for them. So a big shout out to 2 Stans, and much love and much respect for that man right there.
Absolutely, my brother.
Yeah, I'm helping 2 other channels right now get their channels going and getting them started on doing thumbnails with Photoshop and everything.
Yep.
And that's taking a lot of work.
Kelly B, anytime you want me back on your show, brother, you just hollered at me. That goes for anybody. I do not mind coming on and getting on these shows and talking to people. And I love getting together with other cat fishermen and answering questions and helping people out, and just the family community and the camaraderie we have in the catfish community.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
All right, everybody in chat. Tonight we'll have a panel here. We're going to be talking catfishing, both from both aspects of the boat side and the bank side. So if you hear anything and you have any questions, please put a statement or a question in chat, and we'll make sure we can get it answered for you. We're covering tips, tricks, techniques from the boat, from the bank, and vice versa. See what can help us bring in more fish, bigger fish, and where we can locate them.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Avid would agree, but if somebody has a question about maybe the filming aspect of it from a boat or from the bank or however, hey, anything to help anybody out. Hey, we're not experts ourselves, but hey, we'll try. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
We just had the bully come in, the shad.
Oh,
the bully's in the chat.
There goes the neighborhood.
Hey, he said Motley Crue. I have to admit, I've been called a lot worse in my lifetime.
Yeah, oh yeah. I've been called a lot worse. Let me tell you.
I had the pleasure of having Chad on my show. And, man, Chad is actually a great guest, great guy. I like watching him and Dee. And
we got a special guest popping in.
What's up, gentlemen? What's going on? Look at this one. Wait.
That's what I got to do.
Hey.
I like that hat.
Let me poke at it there.
I got to get me one of them hats.
What?
I got to get some more hats. My supplier totally, pardon the expression, crap the bed. So we're looking for somebody else. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Good. So I hear we're having some questions asked. I hope I'm ready.
Yeah, we're going to be talking anything from tips, tricks, and techniques from the bank and the boat, and camera angles and whatever we can help the bank fishermen come up with and help.
I can help with about 90% of that when it comes to camera angles and stuff. You're talking to the wrong person.
Well, in the boat you can.
A little bit. I get lucky from time to time. What I do is I keep filming until I find something. That's the best advice I can give anybody. So.
Oh, we got Palmetto Cats in the house. We got Palmetto Cats. We got Austin. 3+1.
See, Thomas is made it in.
We got a good crowd in here.
And Aaron, I want to address that comment. That may go for these guys, not me. I'm not old enough for AARP.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Oh, wait a minute.
Somebody, back it up.
Put
it on screen. Put it on screen.
I got to find it.
It's there.
Hey, I'm not ashamed anymore when I go and me and the wife finally get to go out to eat. And they're like, do you want the senior citizen discount? I'm like, yes, I do.
Aaron, I'm not even close to AARP status, gentlemen.
Neither am I, not yet.
Oh, the insults. I'll remember that.
All right. Chris Usleton has a question already. Is it wrong to lift and weigh big cats using grippers?
I don't like to do it because if you do not support that fish, you put all that pressure on that fish's jaw. You see a lot of them with broken jaws. I do not like using grippers at all. My hands are tore up, but I would rather sacrifice my skin as I would to harm that fish. I do everything I can to try and make sure that fish is in the best possible condition when I set them in there.
Yep.
There's other ways of doing it. If you got a big dip net, take the handle out of your net. You can weigh them in the net. It's just as accurate, and it puts a lot less stress on the fish.
Yeah.
Especially with the new dip nets that we have out on the market that help protect that slime coat on that catfish.
Mm-hmm.
We owe it to our children and our grandchildren and future generations to do all we can to preserve this resource for future generations.
Yep. I took a cue from Roger, actually. Roger kind of has like a 20-pound limit on fish grips on his fish. And I kind of took a cue from him. If it's a little small fish, I'll fish grip him. I'll do what I got to do. If I even think that fish is getting about 20 pounds, that's my limit to where I'll put them in the net. Now, when they're on the deck of my boat trying to unhook them and everything, I'll put the grips in their mouth so I can control them without getting my hands tore up. Because I'm like that. I don't like getting my hands tore up. That's me. But I'll control them on the deck with the grips, but then weigh them in my net and then release them that way.
I'm as guilty as anybody. I've used fish grips before. I've stuck my hands in them. I still stick my hands in them. I don't have a problem with that. I make sure to support the fish. I've thrown them on my shoulder, which I don't do anymore. Those shots kind of irk me. After talking to a couple of people, those fish are at negative buoyancy in the water. They're not used to having all of their weight focused on one point.
That's
let
right.
alone, not their jaw, not their belly, any of that stuff. Yeah. Try to support the fish. Chances are they'll probably be okay. But keep this in mind, people. Just because you're not seeing, dead flatheads everywhere, which is basically the biggest fish that, I catch out here, doesn't mean that they're not sunk at the bottom somewhere. They are. Yep. Catfish are negatively buoyant fish, which means they're probably going to sink to the bottom until they start rotting and decaying inside, and they'll float to the top only if something else hasn't started to consume them, opening the carcass, letting whatever gases are out. Other than that, what I do is I take the handle off of my net. I have one of those coated nets, and it works pretty good. Channel cats, I always use hand grips. I got marks from this week from catfish and stuff. And I'm gonna say wear gloves if you have to. I've been like to pot calling the kettle black. I've had 2 weeks of antibiotics of extreme pain, man. It ain't worth it. Take care of the fish, take care of yourself. If you got to use fish grips, that 20-pound limit's pretty good. I usually use it a little less. If it's a channel cat, I'm using fish grips pretty much. I'm not sticking my hands in there. I learned that the hard way a lot of times. I mean, take care of the fish the best you can. It could be worse. You could be taking that 30-40 pound fish home to eat. You're not, but just use a little common sense. A lot of people give me flack about my fish pictures, and to be honest with you, the reason why my fish picture sucks, I'm in a hurry to get that fish back in the water.
Yeah, I agree with that, because those catfish, they can withstand being out of the water for a little bit of time, but not for long periods.
I've seen, no, I don't know about that either, but the less time, the better. Who knows what happens to them after the fact? If I'm not mistaken, there was a tournament just recently here in the past few days where, don't correct me if I'm wrong, I heard rumors. I haven't really had a chance to look into it, where first place contender was disqualified for whatever reason. And I heard a couple of rumors that some people were trying to weigh dead fish. You don't want to do that. You don't want the fish to die. I've seen fish lay on the bank for a while. I've seen fish on a stringer get let go and them swim off, but that doesn't mean they're okay.
And I think a big key to getting that fish back in the water as fast as possible is just having your stuff together, having your stuff right there ready to do what you need to do. Like I know on the back of my boat, I've got my fish grips hanging on one rod holder. I've got my pliers here. I've got my net there. My glove is there. Everything is ready to go. That way, when that fish hits the deck, it's do this, get them out.
Right.
I don't have to start looking for everything because I'm ready. I've got it in arm's reach, ready to go.
I need to be better at that myself. I'm not going to lie.
On the bank, I have pliers with a sheath with a tether that goes from the sheath to the pliers. So if I drop them, they're still there. And I got my net handy, the fish grippers handy, and I got the scale handy.
Yep.
So I'm like,
I get so excited when I'm fishing. A lot of the times, I don't even get a picture of the fish. If it don't happen on live, before I know it, I've already put that fish back in the water. I've released him, because in my mindset, when that fish is hitting and you get him in and the bite is hot, all you're thinking about is getting that bait back out in that water and getting another one. And my brain, by the time I realize what I've already done, that fish has already swam off, and no picture, and I'm bad about that. That's why you don't see a lot of pictures on my page. Is I forget to get the picture. I get a little excited.
Yeah,
look, we did that.
Oh, we all.
Yeah, we did that this morning.
I'll be lucky to get a picture of it.
Yeah.
But if I'm live, I'll make sure the camera gets a view of it first.
I've gotten to the point, and I don't expect anybody else to do this, but if the fish isn't close to a PB or a monster, I'm not weighing them that much anymore.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Which is why my guessing at weight. My guessing at weights really sucks. I mean, my PB, I had no idea it weighed what it did. I guessed at it probably like 12 pounds lighter than it was till I got it on a scale. I'm terrible at it. But I do try to keep a scale there just in case I come across those situations. So
if I think it's under 20 pounds, I'm not going to weigh it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am.
Since it's I'm doing this Dock Demon challenge, I have to weigh anything I think is 10 pounds or bigger for that Dock Demon challenge.
Which I do have a plan for that. While my kids are fishing Saturday for the Rogers tournament, there will be a dock runner out the side of the boat for me. For me. I promise you. And where I'm fishing, if something bites it, it's gonna be more than 10 pounds. I promise you that.
Oh, I'm gonna be fishing Saturday night. It's gonna be anything over 10 pounds. It's gonna hit that Dock Demon.
I don't know what it is about seeing people catch fish on them little Dock Demons or them little Snoopy poles or what it is, but it is so exciting. Even Mark, when he was at Mendota and that channel cat hit that whisker whip, and man, you're sitting at home on the couch and I'm just as excited as he is. And you see that bend in that rod, and it's such
all
an adrenaline rush.
It's all and this is from experience. It's all fun and dandy till you lose that monster because you got him on a Snoopy pole.
Yeah,
I've done that too, which really every time I cast that pole out, I'm always second guessing myself saying, do you really want to do that, Mark? Do you really want to do that? But I end up having to do it a lot anyways. If I'm channel catfishing, I'll always have it out there because they're even fun. The channel cats make it even worse because, their pulls are so, jerky and erratic and stuff. They'll wreck your wrist if it's a bigger one. I got an 11-pounder on there, and it did a number on my wrist for a while. I was sore for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at the tiny pole challenge, everybody loves watching those videos on YouTube of like the old 70-year-old war vet who beats up the guy on the train. Right. It's like it shouldn't happen that way, but boy, it's fun to watch.
Yeah,
same thing.
Well, and
I'm just waiting. Go ahead.
A lot of people with channel cat, they're like, man, it's just a channel cat. Channel cat are severely underrated. Channel cat will put up a fight, and in my opinion, if you line up all three, the flathead, the blue cat, and the channel cat, and they had a choice, that channel cat is going to bite you before any one of them other two are. I don't know what it is about them channel cat, but they are super aggressive and super mean, and they will bite the snot out of you.
I've had this talk with a bunch of people. They're the most opportunistic feeders out of all of them because they need to grab that food and get out of there before other predators can come after them.
Right.
So that's what you're encountering with them. It's not that I guess they're sneakier than the rest of them, and they got to be faster than the rest of them in order to survive. Because a blue cat will eat them, a flathead will eat them. There's muskie on the river here that'll eat the smaller ones and stuff too. So they're pretty much trying to get fed out of there.
Yeah, but before they come food themselves.
The last 4 times I took that dock runner out to the Mississippi and Kaskaskia, I threw a 5-inch bluegill on it and casted it out there, trying to catch a flathead or a big blue.
I saw a buddy of mine, Jim Stanley. He comes into these chats once in a while. I saw him reel in 3 flatheads in one night on a dock demon. And I got skunked that night. I was pretty upset.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for something big to hit that dock runner on that ugly stick. I know the rod will handle it. I just don't know that Shakespeare reel will handle it.
The drag on the reel. That's really to me, that's the weak link. The rod is one thing, but it's the drag on them little reels.
But I'm thinking about taking that Cast King 5000 off my 11-foot rod and putting it on that little dock rod.
I run Abu 6500s on my ice rods, even in the winter when I'm using for catfish. There's no other reason not to. It's just the way. I mean, I'm already coming undergunned with the rod and reel. I might as well have the reels I got laying around. I'm not buying a separate reel for them. So
no, I already got the Cast King 5000. That's on another rod.
Yeah. What's fun about them little rods when they're using them dock demons and little reels and stuff like that, you'll hear it and you can hear that reel zzz, 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 and they're like, what's your and they're talking about drag. That's not necessarily drag. That is that fish stripping that reel. And
that might be the
man,
gear.
they will make them things sing, and
not in a good way.
No.
I'm getting my wife converted all over to spinning reels because she has been the Zebco push button fan, like the 202s, the 33s, and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But, man, she fishes so much and catching catfish and striper and stuff on them, it just strips them reels out. I mean, she is wearing them reels.
Here's another thing I need to bring up. There's all sorts of line records out there. There's people that specifically go for line weight records. Let's say they want to get a 20-pound, the biggest salmon you can on 6-pound test. That's all fine and dandy until you empty a whole spool of 6-pound test into the lake or into a river or something like that. I really have mixed feelings about line records and such, which is why I run a heavier braid on my dock demon and why I use the Abu. I'm there to have fun. I'm not there to set a line weight record.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that line on my spool than at the bottom of a river, man. So keep that in mind, guys, when you guys are messing around here trying to get really big fish on really light tackle and line, that when you don't, there's a price to pay. So
that's right.
I agree with that one. So how would you look at fishing from a boat compared to fishing from a bank?
In fact, I miss fishing from a bank, but my bank spots are so few and far between that I had to get a boat, and I'm getting better at boat fishing now. So if I didn't have to pay $20 every time I launch my boat, I'd do it a heck of a lot more than I do already.
Boat fishing from a boat opens options up to you. Places where I fish and I bank fish and stuff, there's not very many places you can hit deep water from the bank. So if it's summertime and it's in the heat of the day and you're fishing during the day and them fish are in the deep holes, you're basically out of luck. Wintertime when they go into the deep wintering holes without that boat, if you cannot access that deep water from the bank, you're out of luck. With a boat, you've got that maneuverability. You can move a lot easier. It's not always easy to find a spot on the bank you can access. With that boat, you can almost access anywhere. And I see a lot of guys, they'll take the boat and beach it and fish from the bank, but they have to have the boat to reach that spot in order to fish.
Yep, so I've done that many times.
There's advantages and disadvantages of both. I like the bank fishing just because I like to get out there, kick back, relax. Even if it's not cold, you can start that campfire and get that smell of that smoke and that crackling. And there's something about a fire like that that always brings out good times and memories. And you start going back down memory lane. And a lot of people, they focus too much when they fish on just catching fish. To me, the fishing trip is not successful based on the amount of fish I catch. It's the quality time and the time I get to spend with others and the camaraderie and just the fellowship and the friendships that are made and stuff. You catch a 20-pound fish, that's great. But what you're always going to remember are those people that were there with you who shared that experience with you.
Yep. Now, as far as me in bank and boat fishing, and if you've watched my channel for more than 2 minutes, you've never seen me fish off the bank. That's because, now, get ready for this one. In public water, I have never caught a catfish off the bank. I've never done it.
Wow.
Nope. I mean, I'm in public water. I've caught them in farm ponds and stuff like that. But public waters, no, I have never caught a catfish on a baited hook off the bank.
Public waters, I've caught all my cats off a bank.
Yeah, see,
but again, I don't go on a boat. So
yeah, so naturally, I'm going to lean towards the boat simply because a lot like he said, a lot of if I wanted to fish off the bank, pretty much any spot I've got to fish off the bank, I would have to get there in my boat anyway. We just really don't have a lot of really good bank fishing spots that you won't lose everything you've got the minute you cast. So being out of a boat for us, it's not only getting to those good spots, but I actually don't lose nearly as much gear because I'm in the boat. Because a lot of times the only places I can fish, even in the boat, is to suspend down. If I would actually cast some of these spots and let the weight hit the bottom, that's it. I'll never get it back, because of that matted revetment we have in that river.
We got an amazing person that just came into chat. I got to say a special hello to. Hello, Tall Betty.
Oh, what's up, Betty? Got to say hi to Betty.
Oh yeah, got to say hi to Betty.
And I have fished from the bank. My wife wants me to get another boat. I like fishing from the boat too, just at certain times because I like being able to move and getting access. But bank fishing for most of us, that's where it started at as a little kid, and it kind of holds a special place in my heart. It don't matter if we're out there catching bluegill, if we're catching catfish, crappie, what we're fishing for. It's always a great time. You don't have to worry about anchoring. You don't have to worry about what the other boaters are doing. This is a very critical time of the year because summer's coming on. We've got a lot of first-time boat owners. We've got a lot of young people on boats and jet
Coogan
skis.
season.
Yeah.
And the best thing I can do, we all need to push boater safety and etiquette right now because a lot of people do not have this. They do not know this. Not just at yourself. Don't just be content with, I know how to control the boat. I know what I'm doing. Yet, even when you're out there on the water, you have to watch everybody around you because common sense is not a flower that grows in everyone's garden. So you really have to pay attention to watch these guys.
That was awesome. But so true.
It's sad, but it's sad, but it's true, guys.
Hey, now I know in Louisiana, I forget what the age is exactly. Pretty much anybody younger than I am, legally, you have to take a boater safety class.
Yeah, same here.
Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries, if you're gonna operate a boat in Louisiana. I mean, I'm sure other states are like that too. And I forget what the age limit is, but I'm barely old enough to
yeah, there's a year where they cut that off here in Illinois. Yeah. I think it's if you're born before or after 1988, you got to take the course. So
yeah, I think it's like I think ours is like mid 80s. Like I said, I didn't miss it by much.
See, they don't do that here, and that's bad. We have a lot of fatalities and boat accidents on these waters.
We do.
Because you got guys that get out there, they buy a brand new bass boat. They don't know these lakes. There's underwater stumps and stuff, and they're trying to run 50 mile an hour wide open across these lakes, and they hit something. They're not wearing their life jackets. They don't have the kill switches attached, and it's a lot of senseless death and destruction, just not paying attention. But I wish they would require not just the boater safety, but boat etiquette. How many times have you seen a guy anchored out and there's a whole river or a whole lake, and this guy wants to buzz your rods 20 yards from your boat and knocking your lines out? Sometimes they get caught. I mean, it's a different world these days, guys.
It is.
And,
it is.
Yes, I do recommend the boat safety.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't be trained enough. I mean, do I think it should be, required by law? I don't know. That the libertarian in me kind of says yes, or kind of says no. But almost being killed a few times on the water kind of makes me lean to yes. I think it depends on a person. If you're a first-time boat owner and you don't have any experience or anybody that's taught you how to use a boat, yeah, that's a great place to start, But if you've had boating in your whole family and you've been on dad's lap all your life driving that boat around and he's taught you, maybe not so much. Obviously, if it's part of the rules and regs, follow them because they're going to check you up once they stop you, and you're going to get stopped sooner or later.
Yep. And I will say this, there's so much information out there on how to be safe on different types of bodies of water. If you watch all these people's YouTube channels, if you watch a YouTube channel that they fish the body of water that you do, or at least something similar, I promise you watch long enough, you're going to get some really good safety tips from whatever channel it may be on some do's and don'ts of that body of water. I promise. That's a lot of how I learned a lot of major safety things to be on the river all the time. Some of that's where it came from, because growing up, we did not take dad's little boat on that big river. We didn't. We stayed away from it because we knew we didn't have a boat big enough for it.
Well, I came as close to being killed by some people last year as I've ever had. I have GoPro footage of it, but if you guys know anything about GoPros, everything looks a little bit farther. This was at like 1 a.m. They opened the locks up here on the Fox River. On the other side of the locks are where there's a lot of bars. Some kids, I could tell they were kids, came the river at night, the maximum speed I think is 15 or 20 miles an hour. They came down like full last in a wakeboard boat, and they came between me and the bank, and I was literally 25 yards off the bank.
Ooh,
yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. So be careful out there. Watch for your, keep your own safety in mind. That's my biggest piece of advice. Yeah, the boating safety course is a great thing. Betty even just said that she learned a whole bunch. Perfect. Go ahead and take it then.
Right. Yep. But I would strongly agree with you guys that they would need to take a photo safety course. But if you have common sense, use it. And use the etiquettes of staying away from people that's on the bank that's fishing.
Yeah.
Because
you look at the vehicles, take cars and stuff. You have to have a license to operate that vehicle. I think they should do that boat. They should be certified with that boat, because I know the boater safety, it takes time. It seems like a pain. But if that boater safety course saves one person's life, one little 7-8-year-old kid that hadn't even got a chance to live yet, you cannot consciously tell me that it is not worth it. I mean, if we save one life, one person is spared. What is 4 hours of a time on Saturday? Right. I mean, I will gladly sacrifice 4 hours of my time, 8 hours of my time, whatever it takes to let somebody have a chance at life.
Yeah. And it's going to save a lot of people's headaches and hassles of trying to rescue you out of a river, too. Just because of one bad misjudgment.
Yeah.
Well, and them rescuers, when they come out there, man, they have to risk their life to save you because you were not smart enough to follow the safety rules.
Yep.
So you're not only jeopardizing yourself, you're jeopardizing everybody on that water and all them first responders and people that have to risk their life to now try and save you.
Right. But I just see if everybody, both bank and boat, would take a safety course, it would benefit both sides.
Yep. But then again, and there's the other side of the argument that I know plenty of people who passed the test and got a driver's license, then they got no business driving. You're always going to have that crowd that it doesn't matter how much you try to educate them, that common decency and respect, if those aren't there, if those aren't in your mind, you're not going to be safe no matter how much training you have.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate truth. Like I'll go with Mark's story, especially. Anybody with a little bit of sense should have known better than to do something like that.
They shouldn't have done that.
But
they left their common sense back at the tavern, and they were in Daddy's $150,000 boat, going off to the girls. There's so many circumstances you can't prevent accidents from happening, which is why I say look out for yourself amongst and your people in your boat before you do anything. There isn't any safety course or anything that's going to stop people like that from doing it. And I think that a majority of those accidents. If someone doesn't know how to control their boat, they're going to bump into you at the marina. Someone that doesn't care about the rules and regulations, they're the ones that are going to hurt you.
There you go. Well said.
You always have to, as in trucking, they say COYA, cover your own. But so you have to keep your head on a swivel at all times, whether you're on a bank or a boat, in case someone trying to be stupid and do something.
Thank goodness the two rivers that I fish, most people are scared to death to put a boat on that river, especially pleasure boaters. So luckily I don't deal with a lot of that. The biggest thing I got to deal with is my own safety around barge traffic and things like that. That's the biggest thing I got to deal with.
Pretty scary too, because they ain't stopping for anything.
It's a pin.
That's a good thing about
the barges I don't have to deal with.
That's a good thing about the Mississippi, because there ain't a lot of pleasure boaters on there.
Exactly.
Because they have to deal with the part of the Mississippi I'm at. They have to deal with anywhere from 1 to 20 barges. And barges parked along the shoreline. So, and you got fuel barges going up and down the river, and other boat fishermen going up there. It gets kind of congested.
Yeah, and on our section where we're at, I have seen barges myself that were 7 wide and 6 deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big push, and he was coming upriver. That made things fun. I don't get nervous often, but it happened that time.
We get them kind up here.
We don't have the barges here, but I'm overrun with the pleasure boaters and the jet skiers and other fishermen. Like today, Father's Day, you'd think it's Sunday, people would take a break off. Man, you go out to that lake, and I promise you, it's a huge lake, and it covers 3 different separate counties. There is not an empty camping spot anywhere on that lake.
Yep.
Everybody and their dog and their dog's dog was out there. And when you get that many people on a body of water, it's like the interstate. It gets very dangerous.
Yep.
You've seen them, 32-car pilots where everybody's running 70. Same thing on that water, guys. You got to pay attention. Stay on your toes at all times.
Yep.
We watched a guy the other night. He was out in the lake, and it was a pontoon boat. And we watched him come in, and he come around the fish house on this lake. And I thought, man, he's going to go back into this cove. And
my boy, Epic.
Let's not get carried away, Tim.
Yeah.
He's probably in his 30s. And me and my wife literally watched this kid come up. And I don't know what he thought, line of view or whatever, but he just smacks into that fish house. And I'm not talking like a little ice shanty. This is a big fish house. He rocked that whole dock. And I'm like, dude, how do you miss that? It wasn't dark. I mean, it's like he had tunnel vision. He was looking one way, and he never even seen that whole boathouse. Luckily, he wasn't going that fast. But, it still did damage to the front of that pontoon boat.
Yeah, of course.
We were using my side scan on the river here at pitch black, cloudy night, no moon whatsoever. It was as dark as it gets, right? And you know how electronics get when it's that dark, they kind of blind you. Next thing I know, my buddy's yelling and hollering, and I just kind of ran up on a seawall at like 1.5 miles an hour. But it'll happen.
Yeah.
You can't always avoid it. Try to keep your head on a swivel. Use common sense. I shouldn't have been looking at the side scan as much as I was, but I was really looking for fish hard. but it happens. Don't beat yourself up about it. Learn from your mistakes. Be grateful nobody got hurt and you didn't sink your boat. Yeah. Actually, I think right where those little marks are at the front of my boat, I'm going to put a river certified sticker right over them just to remind me that I earned my stripes that night.
There you go.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that picture on Facebook with this flat bottom boat?
Yes, I did.
For sale,
curled up. For sale with the front end curled all the way back up. Could you imagine what he would have had to hit to cause that kind of accident?
Y'all want me to tell y'all what happened?
What?
Because if you notice, that boat had Louisiana tag on it.
Right.
That boat hit a wing dike before daylight.
Ugh.
Hit a wing dam before daylight. 2 boys died.
Oh no!
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Yep, that's exactly what happened with that boat. They hit a wing dam before daylight. Hit the end of one. They were closer to the bank than what they thought they were. And unfortunately, right now at this time of year, most of the wing dams are completely underwater.
Right.
You don't know where they are unless you have electronics and running a chart that marks them. And I think it was one of those that was just under the water. And they hit it.
That's sad.
That's exactly really what happened. Yep. But I mean, that's part of it, But but in the river, if you know how to run the buoys, you avoid those situations by understanding what the buoy markers are, how to read them, how to understand if you see a buoy, knowing where you are according to what you're looking at. You know, it's extremely important. You don't have to have electronics to run the river. It helps. I love mine,
Right.
but I can run the buoys, and I know where I'm at when I see one.
No, that'd be yeah.
Our channel markers have beacon lights on them, and the lights just take too long to flash. I don't know what it is about the river here. So what I've done is in the past, you know how your electronics, you can have tracks, right?
Yeah.
I've run the up and down the river enough at daylight where I can see those tracks on my GPS, I follow those at night for the most part. That was the best thing that I've ever done, because I've come pretty close to hitting those buoys. I've come, hit some sandbars and stuff, not fast enough to stop me, but enough to, get me all puckered up, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know a bunch of guys that have run ashore a couple times and really, chipped teeth on windshields, stuff like that, or knock people out of the boat. So if you can do that, just consider that using your GPS, even if you don't have a map that shows you all of that stuff on there, because not all of them do. Mm-hmm. So again, cover your own ass, make your own maps up, and go from there.
Exactly. Use your electronics, because if you use your electronics to track your path in the boat, you can just follow it back over nighttime.
You do. It's not perfect. It's not that close. According to, federal regulations, civilian GPS can be up to has to be no more accurate than 15 feet, I believe. At least it was like that a little while ago. It might have changed since then, but for whatever reasons, I think it's for security reasons, it's within 15 feet.
Non-survey grade GPS.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's written. Yeah, if it's non-survey grade, it can have an accuracy to as much as 15 feet.
Okay.
They actually have a ways of throwing error in them on purpose if need be.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good point right there. It's like going snowmobiling in uncharted territory. Go slow, then when you're turning and you know more, you can go easier.
Exactly. It's exactly like that. Yeah, and just look, a snowmobile, you can follow your own tracks coming back. Same thing. Those of us that have that in our electronics, hey, if you follow that little black line, well, you didn't hit nothing going in. You ain't gonna hit nothing coming out if you're on that line. I've had to do that before in low water, going through sandbars. Low water situations.
Even like the $140 Garmin's, the Strikers you get at Walmart, they have GPS on them now with tracks. So you can't, if you can afford a boat, you can afford $140 for something like that if need be.
Yeah.
So here's another tip that I wanted to add to that. I don't mean to, talk over everybody, but we have a bunch of on the river where I fish a lot of places. We got a bunch of places I can launch at, right? Basically, what I'll do is I'll figure out where I want to fish for the night. I'll launch at the opportune boat launch. I'll go as far away from the boat launch as possible while it's light out, and at night I fish my way back.
Yep.
And that works the best for me. I got a 5-minute ride at the longest. Usually, it keeps down the problems of having accidents and stuff. Other than that, I mean, that's a pretty good way. And that's just an example of how you can use your brains at night rather than just spraying and praying like they do with machine guns back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
See, the bodies of water that I fish, you have no markers. There are no channel markers. You either got to use your electronics, and you have to know where you're at. And guys, if you're going to go out and you're going to do night fishing, make sure you have adequate lights on your boat. Not just your running lights, but you're going to need a light that shines down in the water in front of you. And I would always keep a plug-in spotlight in the boat. Mm-hmm. So I can highlight the bank. I can highlight the rocks. I can see exactly where I'm going, but it's stuff like that, just little things that will make your trips more enjoyable.
Yeah. So I'm from Louisiana. We always have a spotlight on the boat anyway for other reasons.
Gators. Yeah.
Looking for those red globes in the water.
Yep.
All right, we got Maurice Cason in here. We got J-Dog. We got Epic, and I'd like to wish all the fathers in here a happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, guys.
And how would you guys rate your fish finders compared to the older ones that were out there?
On a scale of 1 to 10, about a 17.
And
I
why?
love mine because, well, now instead of having, because I couldn't even tell you which one we had on Dad's boat, 30 years ago. It was just and it was the very basic one back then that actually showed the little fishes and stuff. It was, so not only just having the 2D sonar, but having all the other tools like the chart. Now I can see Navionics does not work for me down here. Navionics does me nothing. Well, I can make my own Navionics maps. I can make my own charts, my own contour maps.
Yeah.
I have that as a tool. I've got down scan. I've got side scan. I've got except for a live view, I've got every little trick at my disposal to do what I want when I want to help me either find structure, find fish, help me find whatever it is I'm looking for. So I have to rate them way, way, way above what used to be out. In my experience being a younger fisherman.
Younger, don't push your luck. You ain't that much younger.
Hey, I'm not in my 40s.
Not yet.
I got about 2 months to go.
Don't blink, brother.
Yeah, right. I know.
I started out with the same stuff with a $100 job that showed the little pictures of the fish on our pontoon boat. And to tell you what, other than using the depth, I didn't trust it for anything. Now, just like Jeremy's saying, I can't live without side view. To be honest, without side scan.
It's nice.
I use that more than anything. Down scan into the real imaging, whatever the heck that's called by Garmin. I keep changing the name.
Yeah,
works pretty good. I'm in the process of upgrading. I think, I don't know yet. I got to see if the funds allow for it. We're not talking live scope, but I do want one of the better transducers that offer a little bit clearer of a picture, so I can differentiate, the types of structure, the types of bottom, and so on. I could see fish clearer. But yeah, night and day. The old ones they worked great, man, and they thought they were going to be game changers, and people thought the waters were going to be fished out, but they're not. They won't. You still got to catch them. You just got to find them. That helps with you.
That's right. Okay.
I basically am my fish finder fishing from the bank. I don't use electronics from the bank.
Yeah.
A lot of the places I found, a lot of these bodies of water I have fished all my life. I found a lot of stuff just out there walking in the water, wading in the water. You'll find a drop off real quick. You can drop from 4 foot to 12 foot. You're going to remember it's there.
Yeah.
And but it's the same thing, guys. I've spent time on the water, and whether it's a fish finder or it's the knowledge that I'm putting in my head, you're still improving, because every time you go out, you learn something. You don't have to have electronics to know there's a stump out there, there's a stick out there. If you throw out there and you hang up and you break off, guess what, buddy? There's a ledge, there's a stick, there's a rock, there is something there. And so you're still learning from that experience.
That's right.
It could be as easy as counting the seconds, 1,000, 2,000 till your weight hits the bottom. Get an idea of how fast your rig or have a rig that exactly sinks as fast as it does, and that'll give you a depth. You bring it back in, you cast out 5 feet less. That'll give you a good idea of what the ledge looks like. Look at things behind you. Look at the bank behind you. Is it steep? How tall is it? Chances are it continues into the water. Yeah. Are you sitting at a point? At a point, it's going to be shallower at the point, roll off of the front and the back, unless there's a lot of current. This is all stuff you learn. At least I did when I learned how to read a river a little better, and it all comes from time on the water.
Reading the river. Yep, that's what it's all about.
I'd like to say hello to Catfish Weekly, Lyle in chat.
Hey,
Lyle. What's up, buddy?
What's happening?
In the lakes, you can figure out a lot of your depths just by having a rod and reel and a bobber. You can adjust the depth on that bobber, find out where it floats at, what depth it doesn't float at, and it's not going to be exact, but you will be within 12 inches of your depth. And a lot of times, if you put your sinker on bottom, it will also tell you what kind of bottom you have. If you throw out there and you can feel that sinker hit the bottom, you know it's hard bottom. If you bring it in and it's got that mud and that clay all over it, you know you have a soft bottom. Same thing, if you're bringing in moss, you know there's a lot of moss and stuff on bottom.
And if you don't get it back at all, you know there's a lot of wood or rocks out there.
Yep.
Either that or you ran into a dry that cut your line.
Yeah, one or the other.
There's a lot of places I fish. Once I cast out, if you try to reel in without a fish on that line, you just lost that hook, that sinker. You might as well give it up because it's extremely snaggy. I know it's extremely snaggy, and people's like, well, if you know you're going to snag up, why do you fish there? Because that's where the 40-pounders and plus size fish live. That's where they're at.
Yep.
You have to be willing to sacrifice sometimes.
Now, from all right, let's put the fish finders aside and go this way from old school way. Looking at the rivers that you guys all fish, how would you guys determine what would be a good fishing spot?
Bank or boat?
Both.
I look for river seams. I'll start at a seam thinking about the time of day. Look for brush piles. It depends on the fish I'm chasing, obviously. Brush piles are a great place. Are you seeing bait? Are you seeing herons or egrets on the bank eating bait? Follow the birds. In the spring, I look for the greenest banks. That means the sun has warmed up that bottom all the much sooner. Things like that all pretty much play a part. It's not just any one thing. It's a collection of stuff, and it's just experience. But, you know, they say find the bait, find the fish. That means fish yesterday's wind. You know, the wind was out of the west yesterday. You know, it's been blowing stuff all up there. If it continues that same day, the fish are probably going to be there. You fish for the last 2 days of wind, you're going to do good. Things like that, all take into consideration. If one thing doesn't point you in the right direction, look at one of those other things, and hopefully they'll pan out. When you can get a cross-section of all those different types of things, that's usually when you're on the fish.
Okay, who's next?
You are, Creel.
Okay. I'm gonna try to give the 5-minute version of this, but
that ain't gonna work. We know that.
Yeah, you know how I am. Okay. The first thing I'm doing when I get on the water is I'm not looking for where I'm going to fish. I'm looking for where I'm not gonna fish. My big determining factor, the number one thing that determines where I'm going or not going, is current speed. Is there trash in the current? That to me, that determines probably 90% of where I'm going to fish. And what I mean by determining not where I'm going to go, well, if the current is ripping 7 miles an hour with all kinds of trash in it, well, guess what? I'm not fishing an open main channel edge. I'm not fishing anywhere in the middle. I'm not fishing anywhere in the full force of that current. One of my favorite spots is I love a bank, either a point that juts out off of the bank just a little, or even a bank cut in where you've got a hard current seam where you've got fast water on one side, slack water on the other. I love putting my boat right on that current seam. I've got some rods in the fast water, some rods in the slow water. And which rods get hit are telling me where the fish want to be. I've fished many times in some fast, nasty water where my rods on the fast side, they were doing this the whole time because I know trash is hitting them. Well, I know I'm not going to get bites on that rod because if trash is hitting them lines, trash is hitting them fish in the face. They don't want that. That's not comfortable for them. So I'm going to always find the slow water next to the fast water, if that makes any sense. I'm going to find the slowest water that is right next to the fast water. It's an ambush point. 90% of the time, that's where my fish are going to be. How close they are to that seam depends on current speed. The faster the water is, the more they're going to back off of that seam. That's probably my main go-to is a current seam, either at a point or a bank cut in.
Someone taught me about current seams a long time ago, and they said, think about it like the conveyor belt, or that conveyor belt you put your groceries on to get in the bag. Well, think of the fish as the bag, and they want to be at the end of that conveyor belt, waiting where it's, because the bags are just sitting there. The food's moving towards them. Bingo. That's pretty much how it works. So
ambush point, buddy.
Yep. How about you, Dave?
I like the bends. A bend in a river or a point or anything that comes out and breaks that current. A lot of times I like it there. Not only will your brush and your riprap gather in that bend and create some log jams that them fish like to live in, but a lot of times when that river is flowing and it's got that current, that water is circulating. So it creates a deeper hole right there where all that stuff is gathering at. And a lot of times when you find those areas, you can be on a stretch of river and say the average depth is 10 foot. And then you hit one of them bends with all that cover and that stump, and all of a sudden you got a 20-foot deep hole.
Yeah.
And especially if the river starts to fall, every fish in that vicinity, in that area, is going to congregate in that deep hole, and they're going to be around that structure and that brush. Stuff like that is great to key in on, and that's what I look for. I'm kind of lazy. When I look to fish, I'm going to a spot where I know I'm going to catch multiple fish. I'm not going to fish one spot just for one fish.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put hours and hours in. I want to be able to catch the fish I need to catch and move on. And so that's what it's all about, guys. Try and use the most of your time and make the best of it. Plan ahead, make a game plan, know what you're going to do before you get out there. A lot of guys, the reason they have trouble locating fish and stuff, they're going out there blind. They have no idea what they're looking for, what's under that water, how deep it is. You might as well blindfold yourself and start shooting at a target. You may eventually hit it, you may not. Make a game plan. But I love the bends and any kind of structure break where it comes out and it breaks that current. It can be a big boulder. You can have a big boulder on the edge of that river that breaks that current. And as that current comes out around that rock, a lot of times them bigger fish will be on the back side of that rock and they'll be sitting there. Because when that fish comes down there, that bait fish, it slams them up against that rock and stuff, disorients them and ricochets them off. It just moves them through. That fish is just sitting there with his mouth open all day, just chomping. He doesn't have to swim. He doesn't have to put out no effort. It's just being hand delivered to him. And that's the stuff I like to look for.
Okay, we got a question that just popped up in chat from Thomas. How do you guys fish new waters?
Go ahead, Mark. Age before beauty.
I use the. Oh my God! Everybody's.
Man, you certainly sound like catfish regulators. You just give Mark
just like I do my water. Every time I go in there, rivers especially. Rivers change every year, every season, every time the weather changes. Water goes up, water goes down. If you can do any kind of recon, look at Navionics maps, get an idea of where the ledges are, where you think the seams are going to form in new rivers that you're on. And and this is going to sound silly. I'm no pro, man. If I'm traveling to go fish somewhere and I'm not going to fish blind, if I can hire a guide, man. If I'm traveling, it's a vacation. If I'm fishing for sport and stuff, it's going to be on waters either that I know or I want to learn. So, I mean, the same stuff pertains to all moving bodies of water, and you'll eventually find those. But if you're on a 3 or 4 day vacation or a tournament, you got to get out there and pre-fish. You got to get out there and spend the time on the water. And if I'm on a 3 day vacation, I might pay a guide to take me out one day. It can't hurt.
Okay, youngin.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let's go, young whippersnapper.
All right. Especially if I'm going somewhere where I've never had my boat in before. I have never touched this stretch of water before. Google Earth is my best friend because, like I said, Navionics doesn't work down here in the rivers. I spend a lot of time on Google Earth. I'm zooming in. I'm looking at those banks, especially in outside bends. I'm looking for those abnormalities in the bank. I'm looking for those cut-ins. I'm looking for those points. And I'm looking for all of those things. And I'll actually go in Google Maps on the satellite view, and I'll make little pinpoints on my phone. That way it gives me something to go to. That way when I'm on the water, I may have 15 spots in an area that I find interesting. Well, then I get on the water, go to those spots. I may narrow it down to 5 or 6 that I really like based on the conditions I'm seeing by reading the river. Then from there, I'm going to hit them with my 2D, see what I've got, determine which ones I'm going to fish. But for me, it all starts with Google Earth. I do a lot of research on that.
Dave?
Yeah. New bodies of water, research is your best friend. Not just with your maps, Navionics if you've got them, but other fishermen that fish that body of water. I know there are people out there, they may have fished that particular river or lake or whatever reservoir their entire life. They're going to know things that other people are not. Navionics can show you contours, depth, and stuff like that. These people that fish this lake, these anglers that grew up on that body of water, they're going to be able to tell you what kind of bottom is there. Is it a rock bottom? Is it a gravel bed? Is it a mussel bed? Where are the mussel beds at? You know, stuff like that is key information. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because when you run into some guys out at the bait shop or the boat ramp and you ask them, some of these guys will blow enough hot air up you that they could fly a hot air balloon. So you kind of have to be able to distinguish between that.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys will know, okay, this point that's underwater. You see this point underwater on Navionics or on your fish finder. Well, what's this point consist of? Is this just a mud flat that's built up? Is it dirt? Is it rocks? Is it riprap? Is it big chunks of concrete? What are you fishing? So the more research you can do and the more people you can talk to, the better your experiences are. But don't let new bodies of water scare you. If you know on your body of water at this particular time of the year, these fish are on the rock ledges in 20 foot of water. When you go to this new body of water, look for those rock ledges that are in 20 foot of water. Don't waste your time piddling with everything else. If you are close proximity in your area, the region of the country, the chances are if your fish are there, their weather pattern's been the same and their fish are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going from north to south, guys, it makes a lot of difference. Down here, we're in triple digits. Our fish spawn quicker than, you know, up north, Indiana, Illinois. So those guys up there, if you can get with someone that fishes in bodies of water, that knowledge that they have is going to be a life changer as far as your fishing adventure.
I'm just going to
And that's what it's all about, guys.
Right.
Fishing new water, it does not matter. If you're fishing new water, the chances are, like Mark said, you're on a vacation. You're going there to fish. You may only have a couple of days to fish. Do not waste time on dead water. Make sure you do your research and set yourself up for success. and know that you are fishing in the correct spots.
Yeah, Chris Uselton in chat mentioned something that I kind of do a lot. It says use the local bait shops, man. Explain to them, hey, I'm here for 2 days. Help me out. A lot of times they will.
Yeah.
You know, if they think you're going to be over there and you want their secret spots, they're not going to tell you anything.
No.
But if you explain to them you're there on vacation, you spend a few dollars in their bait shop, they'll usually give you an idea of where to go or what to look for. So.
Yep. Well, and bait shops are great because that's a bragging spot. That guy goes out and he goes fishing. He catches a 40-pounder and stuff. He comes back to that bait shop. A lot of the marinas that are on the waters, they put pictures of these fish and stuff. It's like a trophy board. It's a wall. And you can go in there, and if you'll just ask them, you know, what seems to be the hot bait? Where do they seem to be catching them at? A lot of those guys will share that information with you.
Hey guys, if you lose me abruptly, we got some really bad storms going on here. That's why I keep looking out the window. So, just so you know,
you're doing good. Okay, so on the Kaskaskia River, it's more like a new water, but it's old water. It don't have a lot of showtells. It has a lot of bridges, like your railroads, your highways going over it. It don't have a lot of brush piles on it. It's maybe a football field wide. It goes anywhere from 8 to could be 30 feet deep at spots. Muddy is all get out. So I'm basically looking for the flats, drop-offs, ledges, underwater rock piles, and the current seams. Because that's what you're going to find on the Kaskaskia River. If you're lucky, you're going to find some trees that are hanging over enough in the water to cause shade to where cats can come up in there and hang out.
Yeah.
Then that's where I'd fish it. But that's
I love the old railroad bridges. Any bridge that crosses the water is going to be good. But your old railroad bridges, I like. And like you were saying, Abbott, if it's got a soft bottom, if you find them places they put that bridges at, crossing that water, they've had to put something down there to keep that soft bottom together. So you're going to find concrete, you're going to find riprap, you're going to find some sort of structure to stabilize that bridge. And man, old wooden railroad bridges, I don't know what it is about Big Flathead, but they will go to them old wooden railroad bridges, and I love fishing them things.
Okay, next question. Dredging, and how will it affect catfishing? Dredging channels from both the aspects of the bank and the boat.
We happen to have the right man here to ask.
Yeah, I can tell you, usually in my experience, if they are or have just dredged an area, the area itself, I really don't like going fish in it. I don't have any luck. I don't pick up fish, but the area just downstream from where they're dredging tends to be really, really good because of all the things that they're disturbing. So basically, wherever they're dredging, I'm heading downriver a good piece and see if I can find something. But as far as the dredging area itself, and I find it takes quite a while for it to, whatever the spot was, it'll never be what it was. Okay, it's changed. Yeah, that's right. It's changed now. So will it make a bad spot good now? It's possible. It depends on what they dug and how they dug it. But our river changes so much because of floods, fast currents and everything else, that dredging is just one more thing that changes a piece of that river. It's not like it's the only thing that's changing that river. It's one out of 10 different factors that change it from year to year. But downstream from a running dredge, that's not a bad thing. I tell you, it's not a bad thing at all.
Fish got to go somewhere. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You know, we have a couple of scenarios that I've encountered over the last 5 years where a simple one, like at my Channel Cat bank spot, right? It's a local place. They had put in a new park. They got a bunch of money from the government. They dredged it all out all the way around there, and it used to be really hot crappie spot in the spring and a really good Channel Cat spot there afterwards, right? Well, it changed. It didn't change much, but it changed. Now the fish, it took me a day or two to figure out that they moved 200 yards in one direction. They're still there. They're just not in the same spot I'm used to finding them every year.
Yeah.
And here on the river, they built a huge bypass project, like $80 million project out there. They built a bunch of bypasses to help alleviate traffic get through there. And they didn't do any studies. That was big time crappie spawn area. So the crappie population has taken like 5 years up until this year to kind of come back. Back. They've definitely moved out, so they're in different places. It's like starting over, but that's part of the excitement, the learning experience. So just because they dredge or they mess your spot up doesn't mean that the fish aren't somewhere else. Just keep looking.
And they're probably not that far away. You know, it's not like they went 10 miles downriver. They're not far away.
Like I was asking that question for us because on the Kaskaskia River, they dredged the lock and dam on both sides. And before they did that, it was good fishing at the lock.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, where'd they go? Because on the other side, right where the lock is, you go fishing downriver from where they dredged, and you're at the mouth of the Mississippi, facing sunken riprap. And on the north side, you can't go any further south to fish because you're on the lock and dam. But at the boat ramp, all you got from the Newington boat ramp is maybe 100 yards downriver. You got a bridge, so you have to go maybe another 100 yards farther down to the next opening to fish the bridge.
Yeah. Well, keep something in mind, and it kind of goes with my theory of I hate fishing nice, pretty, straight banks. I hate the prettier and nice and even the bank is, the least I like it. And remember, that's what dredging does to the bottom. You know, we no matter what, we all fish imperfections.
Right.
That's what we're fishing. You know, if it's just flat with no features, we're not fishing it. So, but that's what dredging does to an otherwise humpy, holy, whatever bottom. It levels it and makes it clean and pretty, and we don't want that. And it's just going to take the river a while, depending on the bottom, to put it back ugly again. That way we like it.
Now, will it make the fishing better or worse?
I have not seen a situation where it takes a bad spot and magically the next week after they're done make it better. No, I have not. I have not seen that happen yet. Now, what I have seen is it make the stretch 100 yards down that was okay and make it better. I've seen that because that's where the fish went. They just went to the next spot down.
You know, it takes a while for it to normalize. It's just time.
Yeah. That's all.
Not only are they changing the bottom, but when you clear all that stuff off the bottom, and they're moving that out, you're also making that water deeper. Well, when you make that water deeper, you're changing the water temperature there. If it was 68 degrees there before and the fish were stockpiled in there, they come in there and they dredge it out. Now it's 75 to 78 degrees. Well, that 10-degree water change in water temperature makes a big difference to those fish.
Yeah.
You know, you went from 15 foot to 35 foot. You've made a drastic change. Yeah. Those fish are going to move out. They're going to find their comfort zone, their 15 foot of water, wherever their temperature is at. And once they dredge that out, it's not going to come back overnight. Most of these places that they're dredging out, it has taken many a year for that bottom to build up, to gain that sediment, the minerals, the rocks, all the little pieces of gravel and stuff that made up that bottom. it's going to take time for that to come back. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, and also remember, if they're taking that much material out, if it was 15 feet before and now it's 30, 35 feet, well, what happens to your current flow? When it hits that deeper water, guess what? It slows down.
Mm-hmm.
So in that stretch, the current's going to slow down a little bit. Now, they can't dredge the whole thing at once. Guess what happens when it gets back out of where they dredged at?
It picks it back up.
It bottlenecks. It picks up. A dredging operation changes for a long way up and down the stretch of that river. They're not just changing that. The stretch ahead of the river, because you've got that drop and that current just slowing down, it's going to change the river ahead of it some. The characteristics of the water have changed. The bottom's going to change.
Yeah.
Now that you have that bottleneck past the dredging operation, well, guess what? There wasn't a bottleneck there before. Now there is. There's going to be eddies there. There's going to be troughs. There's going to be holes there that are going to get dug that weren't there before. So it's not going to change just here. It's going to change. It's going to change much more downriver than upriver in my experience, but it still changes upriver some too.
Yep.
So how much would it change upriver?
That depends on a lot of things. That depends on how much material they took out, how deep it was before, how deep it is now.
What it was before, what's up there prior to where they dredge, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, that depends on a lot of things.
Water temperatures, current speed, moons, everything.
If I had to just absolutely throw a guess out there, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna change much more than a few hundred yards upriver. Just a little bit of a wild guess. Now downriver, it might affect things for a mile downriver, depending on the situation.
Okay, now
the way I look at it, it's like a dam being released or a water hose. If you got, say, it before they went in there and dredged it, they had a 1/2-inch diameter water hose. You could only push so much water through there. Well, with that back pressure behind that hose, it's going to keep back pressure. It's going to keep water there. It's not going to flow as fast. Well, now they went in and they put a 3/4-inch water hose in there. You can flow a lot more water. So that current is moving through there. You're actually pulling that water down, and you may actually see water levels above that where they dredge drop because it doesn't have that back pressure. You have nothing to restrict that water anymore. So places that may have been 10 foot deep may be 6 to 7 foot deep now because that water can flow more freely. It has a place to go. There's no restriction on it.
Yeah, and I think the big lesson of all of this with the dredging and everything else is just because they're doing a dredging operation doesn't mean you have to completely abandon that entire 10-mile stretch of river for the next 15 years. It can be used to your advantage if you play it smart. Like I said, I've caught fish just downriver from a dredge that probably weren't there before. It's disturbing the bottom. It's putting food in the water. Those fish react to that. They say, "Hey, look all this stuff coming down river. Let's check it out."
Okay,
the biggest thing I've seen down here is we have a lot of trouble with our creeks and the rain that feed Eureka Lake Reservoir. Mm-hmm. They back up, they flood.
Yeah,
they have spent millions and millions of dollars trying to reroute these creeks to get it to where they don't flood as much. They've had to build new highways, new bridges, and they did everything they could. Then they go to the lake and they start dredging. Well, instead of dredging at the mouth of the creeks where it comes into this lake, where the water is a foot deep, they went over by the water power plant where they take the water in and they dredged out over there. Until you clear that silt and that sand out from them creek mouths and you get it to where that water can come out of that creek faster, it does not matter what you do for the next 20 miles above them creeks. You've got to have it. You can only force so much water through the width of that creek in that opening. until you get that bottom opened up. If they would have dredged out right there at them creeks, it would have allowed so much more water flow to come into that lake. Them creeks would drop a lot faster, and you would save all that money you just spent trying to control the flooding. And it gets me because they spent all this money, the rains come, flooded. And they're like, man, I just don't understand it. Unless you go, because there's a spot that's about 200 yards long where that water, where them creeks come out, is only a foot deep. I mean, you can't get a boat up it. You have to get out and walk your boat up it to drop off at the mouth of the creek. Till they clean that out, there's no more water can come into that lake.
Okay.
So,
grassy bottoms, sunken log piles, wing dikes, sunken holes, brush piles, and rock piles. How would you fish them? From bank and boat.
Which one?
All of them.
All right.
I'm just giving various scenarios.
Brush piles. This is how I fish brush piles. I fish in front of it, next to it, behind it, and I fished off to the side of it. All right. Now, big holes. I fish the top of slow holes. Nice slow holes. Them flatheads will sit at the top of that hole. The ones in the hole aren't ready to eat. The ones that are wanting to go eat leave up the front, up the top of the hole, and they leave to feed that way. That's where I'm feeding that way. The rest of them, I'm looking for seams. I'm looking for river bends. I'm looking for those food conveyor belts, things like that. If I'm catching a ton of channel catch, sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. I'm looking again for bait fish. See if the bait fish are in those positions to judge where's going to be the most predictive. Time of day, time of month, moon phases, all of that stuff. How long daylight is for that day, things like that. It depends, I guess, is my answer.
Okay. Well, I think Mark talked a lot about the same way I approach a lot of those scenarios. And really, I approach them very similar. I'm always going to fish the furthest, most leading edge up current, but just where whatever piece of structure it is, right where it breaks the current. If it's a rock, it's going to be right behind the rock. If it's going to be a tree, a stump, a brush pile, it's going to be forward, right on the brush pile, right where the current breaks around. If it's a hole, same thing. It's going to be the leading edge of that hole in the most forward position, right where the current's going to break over top around it. Because, like he said, actively feeding fish, that's where they're going to be. That is where the dinner table is located, is at the front leading edge.
It's the door to the buffet, we call it.
Exactly.
That is it, right there.
Well, and pay attention to your water, because a lot of these rivers that these guys fish are tidal. You have, at one time, the tide is coming in, the water's moving one way. The next time, the tide's going out, the water's moving the other way.
That's a whole other.
I have zero experience with any of that stuff.
No, not at all.
That fish has to position in different sides, because in the morning, incoming tide, that wall that comes out, that rock ledge, all the bait may be coming across, and he's using that, and he's sitting on the left side. When the tide goes out and that water goes around, he's going to have to come over to that other side, and they will move. So you have to pay attention to your water, your current.
At some point, he got to move. Yeah.
Yep.
I got you.
Okay. Last question.
Okay.
What tips and techniques or tricks can you share with a beginner that can help them bring in more fish?
More fish or bigger fish?
More fish.
More fish, use worms.
That's a good one.
Wow.
Spend time on the water. Listen to the people, read, look at YouTube videos, all of that stuff. Don't get overwhelmed if you're not being productive. Move if you're not catching fish. Things like that, the simple stuff. Learn how to get your knots right. Buy whatever gear you can afford. You don't need to go out and buy yourself a $150 fancy green or orange rod. Get yourself an ugly stick. Get yourself that Cast King reel if you have to. You know, buy used stuff, borrow equipment. I mean, spend some time on the water, get your rigs right, use sharp hooks, don't use garbage hooks, and go from there.
Yep. My biggest advice is go put baits in the water. Just go. Don't worry about, well, I don't know, they might not be biting today, or I don't know if it's a good, just go. If you've got baits in the water, no matter what, you got a chance. Just go fishing and pay attention to what nature is doing around you. One of the absolute biggest revelations that I've noticed that puts me on big fish time and time again is something I just noticed through observation, and that's big garfish. I noticed when my boat is among big garfish rolling, I'm catching big catfish downstream of them behind them because they are feeding on the fish that the gar are injuring. But if you're not paying attention to what nature is doing around you, you're not going to pick up on those things that nature is telling you everything you need to know. You just have to pay attention to what's going on, recognize a pattern, recognize the pattern, and go and just go for it.
Betty has, there you go. It's not a job, it's fun. Go learn from every trip. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, just go. That's right.
I agree with that, Betty.
You got to pay attention when you fish, though, guys. Just because there's water there does not mean it holds fish there. There are spots on any body of water. I don't care whether it's a lake, a river. It's considered dead water. You also have areas that are just travel corridors. The fish are not staged up there. They're not going to be there all the time, but you can catch them in them travel corridors going back and forth. You have holes where they go during the day, where they're going to be at night. You have to learn where these fish are going to be at. Don't go out and just fish blind, because if you're not thinking about this stuff, you're going to struggle with this every time you go out. You have to learn from your time on the water and your experience. Take something from it. You know, if you go out and you don't catch fish, don't say, man, it sucked today. I didn't catch anything. You learned something. You learned where the fish were not.
Yeah.
You know tomorrow when you come back, don't start at that spot. Don't fish that spot. Especially if you're new to catfishing, guys. If you set up and you're fishing and you're not getting anything, don't be afraid to move spots. Sometimes you have to find the active feeding fish. They're not going to come and find you. You have to look for them. You have to find them. And if you're paying attention and taking notes, you'll start to notice patterns. Okay, when it's 100 degrees, I know the fish like deeper water during the day. All right. If you know they're in deep water during the day, don't go fish in 2 foot of water all day long and then say, man, the fish weren't biting. It's not that you were in a bad spot. It's not that the fish were not biting. You were just not in that spot when the fish are there. If you know the fish are coming up shallow at night, instead of fishing during the day, go out and fish at night if shallow water is all you got to access. Do stuff like that to help improve your chances. Set yourself up for success. And don't be afraid to move. Don't be afraid to try different baits. The biggest thing people get, I see, especially when they're new, they get tunnel vision. They get locked in. This is the only bait I can use. This is the only style I can rig it. This is the only way to do anything because this is the only way I've ever been taught and it's all I know. That does not make it the best way. There are times you will catch fish on the Santee Cooper rig and not on the Carolina rig. There's sometimes they may not hit the Santee Cooper rig, but you can catch them on bottom on the Carolina rig. Pay attention to what the fish want. Sometimes the only way spawn, when the catfish spawn is on, one of the best ways to catch fish is drifted. When you're dragging those baits, you have a better chance of contacting that fish with that bait. Don't be afraid to try different things. And guys, we have a great YouTube community, a great YouTube family. If you ever have questions, do not be afraid or timid to ask somebody for help. Uh, Most of us post our emails and stuff on our channels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Get a hold of somebody in chat. Contact us in one of these live chats. If you have any questions, please do not be embarrassed. Ask, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
We share.
absolutely.
We're not up here talking and sharing this knowledge to be smarter than anybody or anything else. We're up here sharing this information to try and help you be more successful. Just like your kids. You know, you teach your kids things because you don't want them to have to make the same mistakes you did to learn. We're no different. We're trying to show you things that we did and we learned so you don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah. And I don't know about, I'm sure the rest of y'all are the same as me, but I get the biggest kick and pride and joy that, you know, every now and then I'll have somebody to reach out to me on my channel and say, hey, you know what? I watched that video you did. I've never seen anybody do that before. And I tried it. And man, I caught some fish doing that. Man, I get the biggest swell of pride from doing that, because it's like, you know, unknowingly, a lot of times we teach people without even meaning to. You know, just by doing what we do.
Or, you know, we assume that they know what they already do, or what we already do. That's on us. That's something to be conscious of.
Yeah, there's an awesome statement right there from Uncle Jeep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome knowledge base in this catfish community. I've learned a lot from all the awesome people. I want
to catch a fish like Uncle Jeep's icon with 3 eyes. That's one of my goals.
Yeah.
I get excited because I've had people actually watch my channel, and I tell them exactly where I'm fishing, what body of water, what bait I'm using. I tell them everything, my exact location. And I've had people contact me. They didn't say anything in chat while they were watching, but they went out and they fished the same spot I was with the same baits. And then they'll come back and they're like, man, we went out there. We were on the fish. That was the best time we ever had. Man, that makes my day. That puts me on cloud 9, because now you know something. And, you know, I explain in the videos why the fish are there. So I'm trying to educate them to where there's going to come a point in time where when they get ready to go fishing, they're going to be like, man, it's this time of year. I know what the fish should be doing. I'm going to go over here. This is where I need to be. You know, plan your fishing trips. Just don't go out there and wing it. That's what we're here for, Chris.
Absolutely.
And I like what Betty said. Let me bring that back up. If you're set on catfishing, catfish season, when catfish spawn is on, I could care less about catfish. I let them spawn. That's sogeye time for me. If you target many species of fish, you'll always catch fish.
True.
Well, and you can catch when the catfish are on spawn. Man, it's a great time to go crappie fishing.
Exactly. Hello, Parker Pursuits.
Don't be afraid to catch different things. And, you know, there was a saying us older people always heard. They used to always tell you knowledge is power. That's not necessarily correct, because it's what you do with that knowledge. You could be the smartest person in the world. You could have the cure and the knowledge to be able to cure cancer worldwide. But if you do not use that knowledge to help benefit others instead of just yourself, that knowledge is useless. Yeah, so that's why I love this. I love this platform, because we get a chance to come out and share our knowledge. And by us sharing our knowledge with each and every person on here, that knowledge, it becomes powerful.
Okay, final thoughts.
Get out there and fish.
Where I'm fixing to go. I got to take
pretty much it. Get out there and fish. Watch the channel. Support everybody. Learn what you can. Ask a lot of questions. Try different baits. Everything we talked about here is good places to or good places to fish, whether it's from the bank or a boat. Learn with every trip. Don't be upset if you don't have a successful trip as you think, whether you're getting skunked or not, or whether you're killing them. If you catch that monster fish right away, don't expect to catch them every time. If you don't catch them for a while, you got something to look forward to. Treat it as an adventure, treat it as a journey, treat it as, a lifestyle, and it'll last you the rest of your days.
No matter what, be proud of what you accomplish. If you go out there and you've been struggling and you finally catch a 5-pound blue, post it up, post pictures, do everything. Be proud of that fish. Don't let anybody tell you any different either. Be proud of what you've accomplished, no matter what. Don't worry about how big a fish everybody else is catching. You don't worry about any of that. That's your fish. That's your accomplishment. Be proud.
Yeah. Take time. Enjoy the time you have on the water, out there in nature, and don't focus on the size, guys. Not everybody has 70-pound fish swimming in their waters.
Yep.
It's not about the size of the fish. You went out there, you're catching fish, you've solved the piece of the puzzle, you're having success. If you're out there with your family, make it fun for them. Don't get so focused. I see a lot of new YouTubers. They're like, man, I keep getting skunked. Don't worry about it. Go out there, have a good time. Quit worrying about that camera. Just go out, be you do you, fish and enjoy it. Talk to that camera, talk to people just like you're talking to a friend, just like someone sitting there fishing with you. Enjoy it. Don't turn it into a job and take the fun out of fishing.
No.
Just remember, catfish travel. They do travel for food.
Yep.
They will find places that have food. They'll hold up there and on current seams, rock piles, ripraps, jetties, whatever. They'll sit there and wait for the food to come to them. Look for them, find them, have fun doing it, and take notes.
Don't get stuck on one bait either. We went out Saturday morning, and the crawdads we were using, I had bluegill, cut bluegill, live bluegill, and crawdads. We were catching on the crawdads 3 fish before we ever even got a bite on anything else. We were catching 3 to 1. Overnight, we went out this morning. They were no longer hitting the crawdads 3 to 1. They were hitting the bluegill. So the bite can change that quick, guys. Just because you caught fish on that bait 6 months ago does not mean that's the bait they want right now. Don't be afraid to try different baits.
I would like to give a shout out to Parker Pursuits. I did get a picture with him yesterday, and his friend, one we nicknamed Gar Master. I was proud to just watch how Parker landed a fish in the net and weighed it, and it came out to be like 17 pounds or something. He didn't use fish grips. He used a net to do it, and he let it go back. That was something I was not expecting to see. But we had a good time yesterday with Parker. We covered above the Kaskaskia Locking Dam all the way down to the Mississippi mouth.
Yep.
That's a nice little walk.
Yeah, that is a nice little walk. I've been there with you guys. Yeah, Parker sent me some text last night, so I kind of knew all about that. It looks like you guys had some fun and the heartbreak on his part, but we'll let him talk about that another time.
Yeah. Well, everybody's been good. I hope you liked the panel we had tonight. If you like more, you can contact me through Facebook or on Messenger. Give me ideas what you want to see next on the show. But next week we'll have Fishing Chick as a guest. So we'll get to know her and get to talk with her some more. And tomorrow night I will be live on Catfish Weekly as a guest.
Right on. I know you're looking forward to
about it, but yeah, I'm a little antsy because I'm going to be in the passenger seat again. It's going to be fun. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
I look forward to it.
So have your questions ready. See what you guys can learn.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to get Mark and Lyle both. I want to have both of them on my show. Them guys.
Let me know. Send me a message. That would be awesome.
I love watching Lyle and
tomorrow
Mark
night after Catfish Weekly. Since Avid's on there, I kind of had a guest that had some change in work schedule. We won't mention any names because I want to have this person on again. So I think I'm going to fish live after talking to you fellas. So we'll do some night fish. We'll do some night fishing tomorrow night.
Come on now.
So we'll see what we got.
Country boy catfishing, you're in for a treat when you get Mark and Lyle on your live.
Yeah, I love watching even the jig time. I watch them even doing the jig time and stuff. Man, that stuff is so fascinating to me. They're just great guys. I love it. I mean, it's a blast.
Thank you so much.
I will say this. I got to watch Mark's Catfish and Crappie YouTube channel grow.
Yep.
I had him as a guest on here once. Then when work had to take over my YouTube channel, Mark stepped up. And from there, he just blossomed and grew and just went off. I mean, he grew quickly. He grew fast after that.
Thank you very much for the kind words always, Avid. It's always appreciated, my friend.
I'm amazed at how him and Palmetto just took off.
Absolutely.
Yep. And that's where I get my blessings from, is from helping people like that when they first start out.
There's so much talent out there in the catfishing family, so everybody helps everybody out and help anybody who needs a chance and get them some subs, do whatever you need to do, give them advice. I know I talk to a lot of YouTubers and stuff, and I get a kick seeing them take that advice and run with it, and it help them out. So I want to give a shout out, not for myself, but for them trusting me enough to look to me for advice. So thank you guys. You know who you are.
Oh yeah. And see, speaking of kind people out there in the community, and I'm sure he doesn't want me to say anything about this. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. All right. Y'all see this beast right here?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Pin Squall 20. I've got another one just like it sitting on my counter. Got two of them now. Uncle Lou's Tackle, Lee Reed. We had a phone conversation. He reached out to me and said, dude, I'm sending you some stuff. I said, Lee, dude, you sent me planer boards. That's enough. Man, come on. He's like, no. I'm telling you, I've got this stuff. I don't use it. I'm going to hook you up. This and the other one. And dude, these things are brand new. They've never had line put on them. They're brand new. And I know how much they cost because I drool over these. Been drooling over these for a year. So I know. And supposedly this is one of two packages that's coming. And it is overwhelming is not the right word to express how I feel about stuff like this. Because I never in my wildest dreams thought that the YouTube thing would come to that and somebody would do something like that and send things to me that I know how much they cost. It is unbelievable to me. Yeah. So, dude, he was in here earlier. I didn't get to say hi to him, but dude, if you're in here, I can't. I almost get choked up talking about it.
I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more, Creel. I just had a talk with him this week. He's a heck of a guy. We're gonna get some stuff from him. So we're gonna. And if you're out there looking for tackle, make sure you visit. It looks like Kevin just shared the link. Visit his Facebook store. Give him the business. He supports everybody. Makes everybody's life better. Make his life a little better in return. So
absolutely. He probably didn't want me to mention his name, but I don't care. I did it anyway. He deserves it.
I talked to him about a couple months back. And I think last part of February, early part of March, about me trying to find rattles and beads and stuff to make my catfish rattles. And next thing I know, I got in the mail, I got 100 rattles and about 200 beads.
Yeah.
Rubber beads and bobber stops.
Yep.
And better believe it.
he didn't ask for nothing in return.
Yeah, I've been trying to hunt down a way to send this dude some money. He ain't having it.
He don't have a PayPal.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I know. I look.
Yeah, man.
I know.
All right, guys. I hate to be a party pooper, but my wife's been waiting 2 hours for me to take her fishing. We're going to go out and do some night fishing. Taking our next to the oldest daughter and my wife out.
You better keep Mama happy.
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
They've been
we're ending
patiently
it
waiting
on.
on me.
We're ending on this note. So
I'm looking over the top of my laptop at mine. Nope, she's smiling. Okay, we're good.
Check in tomorrow night at 7:00 p.m. Central Time. Catch me on Catfish Weekly with your questions. And until then, tight lines, sweet dreams, and good luck on the bank.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks
for watching.